do it without a harmonic. Didn't do it brilliantly, but it was in. Welcome back to Anarchy in the Ukulele with me, KD, and I'm here today with this Flight 4SB tenor ukulele. 4SB stands for 4stringboy, and this is Sammy's signature ukulele. Sammy's signature ukulele. Sammy's signature is quite hard to say for me. It's a lot of S's. First thing you're going to notice is how striking it is design-wise. This gloss black top with all the maple adornment, I'm going to call it, really does look fantastic and really makes this ukulele stand out, I think, in a crowd of modern ukuleles that are getting a bit generic-y, and I think this one really stands out. I'm looking at my screen because it's over here. This is a stupid place to put a screen. should we put that in a review? I am, because I'm gonna keep looking over it. Right, my screen, because we're in a different room, as you may have noticed, and there's a reason why we're in a different room, because I think from now on we're going to do all of our reviews in this room, which is very, very well treated. We're going to use the same microphone for every review, which is this Neumann microphone, going into a very clean preamp on our system, so that every review we do has the same treatment, the same sound going from this point onwards, so you really are hearing the differences between the ukuleles. So that's why we're in here, and it means that my screen, which is normally in front of me and I can read stuff off, stupidly is over to the side of me, so I might keep looking over this way. But this ukulele, so we have a solid spruce top with solid rosewood back and sides. What this is giving us, I think the combination of these is a really quite loud and prominent sounding ukulele. It's prominent in the high end, but it's not tinny at all. It's still got a mellowness to it that a lot of ukuleles, when they're loud, and particularly they have kind of like, it doesn't sound thin at all. But it's really quite cutting. It could cut through a mix really, really well. And in a ukulele group, I think it could go through really well. But I think that it depends how you play it. If you play it with the pad of your finger or your thumb, it's almost got a little mellow thud on the beginning of each note. It's just that kind of sound. But again, if you use a nail, that top end really does kind of ring out, and a completely different sound. So I think because when Sammy told me that he was having this made, and he kind of said it's really loud and it's going to be quite bright, I kind of thought, oh, okay, I quite like a mellow ukulele. I think, not to call it a jack of all trades, but you can get both sounds out of this. You can certainly get that mellow sound, but you can get sort of a glassy high sound if you pick it with a nail. And that, I think, is due to the wood combinations, which got me down this whole rabbit hole that I've just been talking about. So what else has this got? It has a rosewood fingerboard and a rosewood bridge. It has a compensated bone saddle and a bone nut. Bridge pins, this time for a flight ukulele in black, not in the red that they've been using recently, which I think was a request specifically from Sammy. I should say, I mean, I've talked about the design of this, and I've had long conversations with Sammy about this ukulele for the last month or so, and he really has been heavily involved in the design of it, and the choice of woods and the decoration on it really has all come from him, and I think it's a really good job. So that combination that he's put together with the team at Flight, it really is a good job. So rosewood fingerboard, rosewood bridge, compensated bone nut and saddle, that way around, bridge pins. Then we have, which is kind of visually one of the biggest features on this ukulele, is the spalted maple. We have a spalted maple rosette, a spalted maple cutaway, which we'll come back to in a minute. Spalted maple binding on the front and the back, which is really, really nice. There's a little strip on the butt of the instrument there. And then, which I love, the spalted maple fronting on the headstock. Which I think the fact that it's one material tying all of that together is fantastic. There's also the fret markers, which we'll go into a little bit more detail of again in a minute, because you can see that they are not in the normal places that they would be. But the fret markers are spalted maple as well, and that's a really, really nice touch. So I really like that. Let's carry on with the spec. We have an African mahogany neck, which is really, really nicely done. It's in a satin finish, which I really like. I'm not a fan of gloss necks. Really nice feel to it. It is the same size neck. I'm just going to check. Yeah, so 38 mil. So same size neck as the Fireball. Has that similar feel to it. Where it goes into the headstock, you can't see many joins in this. There's a really obvious one where you've got the stripe on the back just going into the little heel joint there. That's fine. I mean, it's got to be there, and it is, it's obvious because the stripe kind of goes underneath it. On the actual headstock, I'm struggling to see a join in that at all. I think there's a slight, I think it's there. It's so well hidden. So really, really, really nicely done. It's the normal flight headstock now that we've seen lots of recently from the Fireball, and then the Anniversary series had a similar one of these with a little cutout just to mark them as the Anniversary series. They come with the Prowl open gear tuners that Flight are using at the minute. Really nice, black and gold. Absolutely nothing wrong with those at all. Metal buttons as well rather than plastic buttons, which is a nice touch. Okay, so let's talk about this cutaway. So this cutaway, when I first saw a picture of this ukulele, I could see that the cutaway was a bit different, and I really like it. So normally a Flight cutaway, and I'm hoping Bongo Boy might stick a little image up of maybe the Fireball, sort of curls round a little bit. So there is a cutaway, but it doesn't go right the way back. This one kind of slants back. It's very different, and I believe it came from a sort of prototype instrument that Sammy saw, and he very much went, I want that one. So I really like that, and that's something I can see taking off. Visually, once I got the ukulele, I think if you look at it from that angle there, I really like that. If you look at it from this angle, the only thing that aesthetically displeases me slightly is that it doesn't go all the way into the neck. But I think, and I'm presuming, that the very good reason for that is it would actually weaken the joint into the neck if that wasn't kind of a solid block. There has to be a block for the neck, and I'm guessing the block is a little bit wider than the neck. I don't know. Maybe that was just a decision made, but for me, if that went all the way back to the neck joint, I think it would look really sweet. But I do love that. In the spalted maple again, as is the rosette, with this sort of upside down moon almost shape to it. I've seen a few of these now beginning to crop up online this week, and what I really like, and when I sent a picture of this to Sammy when it came in, saying, guess what I've got? And he went, oh, you've got a really nice version of the rosette. So I kind of really like that all of these, and in the pictures I've seen, they're all different. I saw one and I was like, oh, that's got a really nice cutaway, but the rosette wasn't as nice as this rosette. So I guess it depends which one you get, but I like that because it means there's a bit of individuality about every instrument, and I think that's quite cool. So what is left to go through? We have Worth Brown strings as standard. Now I've actually got a set of Uke Logic strings and the soft tension strings that I believe Sammy uses with all of his ukuleles. So, I've got a set coming, so they're in the post, and I'm going to try them on this instrument. So we might do a little update video, just a little short about sort of changing the strings on standard instruments and things like that, and do sound comparisons between the Worth Browns and the Uke Logics. Maybe try another couple of sets of strings on it as well. That could be an interesting video, so look out for that, because we'll do that within the next couple of weeks or so. But it does come with Worth Brown strings. Worth Brown strings aren't my favourite strings. I do think they help create the sound that this instrument's currently making. So I think it's going to be really interesting to hear it with different sets of strings on, such as the Flight fluorocarbon strings, or any of those type of kind of soft tension fluorocarbon strings that the Flight had on the Anniversary series. I think that would make this sound quite different to how it currently sounds. So I think string choice is going to be really, really important with this ukulele. The Worth Brown strings, they do give a really sort of clear sound. So until we do that, it's hard to know how much that is altering the sound or not. But it's certainly, I think it would be interesting to put some different strings on there. As for the sound, let's have another little play. As a strummer's instrument, I think if you were playing in a ukulele group, you're going to hear it. The volume that's coming out of this and the tone that's coming out of it is going to cut through other instruments playing, and I think that's really nice. The actual sound of it, one thing that, coming from the guitar world, you notice the difference in quality instruments, as normally in the guitar world, as they get more expensive, you have a larger dynamic range. And what I mean by that is that if you play it, you can play it from really quiet, you can play it at a normal sort of volume, what tends to happen on a cheaper instrument or a lesser quality instrument is that it doesn't get much louder than that normal volume. And so you can really hit it, but it doesn't get greatly louder. This, going from quiet to its loudest volume, is, I probably blew the microphone a little bit there, is quite considerable. And that to me is one sign of a really, really good instrument. The Fireball does it as well, and the A10 does it, not quite as much as this, because I think it's not as bright as this, so I think the brightness really helps with that. So what tends to happen on some other instruments is you almost get a compression of that top end of the volume, and it just kind of brings it down a little bit so that you've got nowhere to go. I think if you were playing, you know, certain pieces on this and you want to add loads of dynamics in, you're going to get loads and loads of dynamics from this instrument. So I think that's a real big plus for me. So we've gone through all the specs. We've got this gloss black top, which I really like, but it does show the fingerprints quite badly. I don't know how well they're picking up, but I think the gloss in general, when it's a dark, so even on the rosewood, it shows fingerprints quite a lot. Bongo Boy spent a good 10 minutes cleaning this before we started, and then before we actually hit record on the camera, I'd been playing it too much and got fingerprints all over it again. I don't mind that, because I think instruments that we played, just give it a wipe down afterwards. But for some people that might be a factor. It doesn't really bother me at all. I really do like the look of it. Another thing we should say about it is that there's no pickup installed on this. I think that was a conscious decision from Flight and Sammy to try and keep the cost of this instrument down. Whether you like that decision or not, I guess, is up to you. I think if you buy this from a reputable ukulele store, they will be more than happy to fit you a pickup in there. And that's the thought process behind it, I believe, which I don't think is a bad one. I think most people don't plug in their ukuleles. I might have loads and loads of comments saying that I'm completely wrong on that, but I think, you know, if you're playing in a group and that, sometimes you have one or two people that plug in if they're the lead players and things like that. A lot of the time people aren't plugging in. I don't think it's a necessity to have on a ukulele. It can add weight to the ukulele, and it's also adding a cost that you may not need. I quite like the option of saying, well, no, look, that's what it is, and if you want a pickup fitted, then you can have one. It's also it's the sign of a, you know, some of the higher end ukuleles won't necessarily come with pickups fitted on them, and it's your choice to have an under saddle or whatever pickup that you want on there. I think that was probably a good choice to make. It seemed a little bit strange at first because the likes of the Fireball and some of the cheaper models in this, for Flight Diana or the Pete Moss signature ukulele, all have pickups. I thought that it was a good choice to get the price down. So the price of this at the minute, it's already changing, and actually I've seen it cheaper in a couple of places than others. It's around about anywhere between the £470 and £500 mark in the UK. I think the Flight retail price, I will check on my screen that is in completely the wrong place, is €549. So it's out there already at some slightly different pricing points, because I've had a look around and seen it today. But it's generally, for the UK, it's under that £500 mark. If it had a pickup in, it's going to be well over the £500 mark. So that's the decision they made. I think it was a good one, but I guess that's your taste, whether you want the hassle of having the pickup fitted or not. Signature wise, which is quite important on signature models to some people, it's a little... Abby picked this up yesterday and she went, oh, someone scribbled biro on the back of it. But it's a little signature, so it's a little for Sammy B on the back. I really like that, because to me this is a ukulele that I would buy and play and be quite happy playing out and about and at gigs and things, to the point I probably will play this out and about at gigs. One of the signature models that has the signature on the fretboard or on the headstock, I'm not really that keen on, because sometimes you can like the ukulele but you're not a massive fan necessarily of the player. It doesn't mean that you dislike the player or anything like that. You might not know of the player that much, and it puts you off a little bit with it being so kind of in your face. It's a bit like the Anui Lion, which actually I want to talk about in regards to this ukulele in a second. It doesn't have a signature, but it does have the big lion's face on the fretboard, and I've never heard of the band Lion. I think they're from Taiwan or China or somewhere like that, and so I've never heard them. I've never heard any of their songs, but I've got a ukulele with a big lion on the middle of it because it's their signature model, and I find that a little bit odd. I really like that this is really kind of, it's kind of Sammy shying away a little bit and going, like, my signature's on there, but it shouldn't be a massive part of the ukulele. And I think that's a really, really good choice, because there'll be players like me that would be more than happy then to play this ukulele without you feeling like you're sponsoring or you're it's a bit like on Facebook. I don't know, some people get those what are they called when you a star fan or a top fan award on Facebook, and then you get a little badge that says you're a top fan. If I get recommended from those, I kind of stop liking people's posts, because I don't want to be recognized as a top fan. I feel a bit sad. So yeah, anyway, it's a little bit like that, if that makes sense. The Anui Lion, the reason why I mention this, because I have an Anui Lion. So many things in this video are hard to say today. So many things. And this, to me, has a really, really similar sound. So the Anui Lion is a solid cedar top with koa solid coa, back and sides. It has the brightness of this ukulele. It has the slight mellowness. It also comes with earth brown strings, so there's a similarity there. Neck, I think, is the same. The nut width's the same size. It's very, very similar sounding, and it's £1,000 more expensive than this ukulele. There are similarities. They've both got the gloss coloured top. This being in black, the lion being in the bright orange that I love, but other people aren't necessarily that keen on. But I think there's £1,000 difference in the price of this to the lion, but there's not £1,000 difference in its playability, sound, or quality. In fact, I think they're matched. Honestly, I think that they, playability wise, sound wise, build wise, to me they seem absolutely matched. So the fact that there's £1,000 price difference really shows you what they've done with this ukulele. Fret markers. So now am I saying fret? It's because I used to always say my THs really, really badly. I still do. So I'd say f instead of th. And so my brother and my sister used to take the piss so much and constantly go on about it that I got quite paranoid about it, to the point that I then reversed everything because I was trying to say it when I shouldn't have been saying it. Anyway, so fret markers. Yeah, you'll notice they're different in that offset fret markers, but two offsets, because you've got some over this side, some over this side. Now, if you've ever watched 4stringboy, he plays an awful lot of harmonics. Constantly plays harmonics. Not constantly, that sounds bad. Effectively and beautifully and emotionally plays harmonics where needed. Only ever where needed. And so he kind of said, well, he's sort of, the natural harmonics are at the 5th, 7th and 12th. Had to think about that then. So he wanted these marked because he uses them a lot, and he thought it'd be quite nice on the fretboard to differentiate between those and the other markers. So you've got those markers on the 5th, 7th and 12th, and then the other markers, which are the 10th, 15th and 17th, are on the other side. I really like that because it's useful in so many ways. So it's useful if you're playing those harmonics. It's also, I find it really useful to have the 10th there, which is something that when I play things I quite often slide up to the 10th. It's useful to have the 17th if you are doing sort of false harmonics, you're doing harmonics higher up the neck. I think it's useful to have that, which was certainly, I think, Sammy's reason from the video that he did, that's there. I like it. It takes a little bit of getting used to, I suppose, but not much at all. The only thing that I would say is then kind of missing slightly is that there aren't any side dots. I don't know if Bongo Boy can get that or not in this light, which is a criticism that I see in reviews. It can be criticised quite a lot. Now, on this, on the 5th, 7th and 12th, you can actually see where those spalted maple bits are dropped into the wood, and they kind of act as side dots on the 5th, 7th and 12th. So that's quite nice. On the 10th, you've got nothing on this side at all. Does that bug me? It doesn't bug me because I think when I'm playing, I do tend to angle slightly anyway, so I can see these markers because they're offset. So it doesn't bug me at all. I guess it's just a personal preference. I think it's fine. It'd be interesting to see where other reviews go with that and what their thoughts are. But I guess we'll see. So The 4SB, have I missed anything? Bongo Boy's pointing. I have missed something. The case. It's the same as the red case that comes with the Anniversary series, and I think it's the Royal series, but it's in black. Because if you've ever met Sammy, he wears black and white, and that's it. That's his colour scheme of life. His studio where he does his videos from is pretty much all white or black as well. So you get this case. It's a nice case, same as the red cases. Oops, is that it? Hold on, there we go. Nicely padded inside, pocket on the front. It also comes with, if Bongo Boy's put it in the pocket, yes he has, a humidifier, a dehumidifier. It's a dehumidifier. But I think they call them humidifiers. It confuses me. A little flight getting started booklet with some accessories and some bits about... Oh, look, little chord sheet and all sort from flight in there. So that's quite nice. It's a good case. It's a case I'd be perfectly happy taking my ukulele around with. So, case is always good. Always good to throw a case. I can't play this like Sammy. So on his YouTube channel, there's lots and lots of sound samples and things, and he does some comparisons between this and other flight ukuleles. I'm going to play the kind of stuff that I normally play on it, just to play out. I'm really quite taken with this ukulele, if you haven't guessed already. Not because it's Sammy's, just because it's a really, really good ukulele, and looks wise it fits in perfectly to the kind of ukulele that I've been looking for. Sound wise, I really like it for band stuff, and I'm going to use it for that. I think if you're playing lead lines, it's so bright to cut through a mix. I don't want people get confused between bright and tinny. It's not tinny, it's bright, and there's a difference. But it just means that it can really kind of power through on those top lead lines, which in our Anarchy band I do quite a lot of. And I think this instrument's going to fit in really well, because sometimes I end up plucking the strings so hard just to be heard and to make a lead line kind of stand out above the rest of the playing, that I'm really, really pulling at the strings. This one, I won't need to go anywhere as hard as I normally do. So for that, I think it's going to be really nice. Available in all the usual places at the minute. I don't know how many are going to be available. I know the first runs of ukuleles have come out. Normally, there's a bit of a waiting period after that. So there is another way to get your hands on this ukulele, and that is going to be to enter a competition that we're going to have running. And at this point in time, I'm not going to tell you how you enter that competition. Haha. And also, I haven't told Sammy this yet, so he doesn't know that we're going to give one of these away. But there's going to be a giveaway happening across November and December on our channel. The video that tells you about that is going to go out very, very soon after this, but you're going to have to watch some of our videos to find out which one it is. But it's a very, very easy process. You don't have to do a lot, and you will be entered into a chance of winning a Flight 4SB ukulele. This side of Christmas as well. Definitely this side of Christmas. So what a great Christmas present. Watch the channel over the next week. Can we commit to a week? We're rubbish at committing to when videos are going out, but
it's got to go out on Wednesday, so
yeah. So the next week there's gonna be a video that goes out that will tell you how to win this ukulele. So very exciting times. Awesome. I'm going to enjoy playing you out on this. I don't know what I'm going to play yet, so we're going to see what my fingers do. See you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. We'll pop up all the specs with this little player as well, so that you've got those. Thanks for watching.